All right, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mindset Mastery. Our topic tonight, let me ask you, do you find yourself, doing laundry, cleaning your office when you should be working the phones? How about, just plain old finding other things to do? Got to listen to another podcast, got to get more information. When you know you should be in action, you are going to love today's topic because it's about stop getting ready to get ready and really begin to take some action. So I am so excited for today's topic. I'm excited for you to meet my guest. And so we'll be chatting in a moment. But as you jump on, I'm going to go find you online. But as you do come on in, please do let us know where you're chiming in from, who you are, and what you do. And if you're listening to the replay, I want you to do the exact same thing. I want you to let us know where you're chiming in from, what exactly you do, and so that we can start the networking process. And I ask everybody to do it because you don't know who's going to listen to this replay. Find out what you do and connect with you. So welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Suzanne Hart, and welcome to Mindset Mastery. And today's topic is stop getting ready to get ready. So let me go pick you guys up, see if I can find you. I am so excited. Let me see. All right. Okay, so let's get us started. And we're not showing up yet live, but that's okay. I will find you. Here we go. All right, I see Taria. I see, who else is there? I see Cindy. Welcome, Cindy. And I see people beginning to join. So as I said, as you join us, let us know where you're joining us from, what you do, so we can start the networking process. Today's word is mastermind, because I know my guest is going to drop some nuggets and you're going to want to be able to connect with her. So if you are something she says resonates with you, you want to stay connected, put mastermind in the comment section so we can make sure that you guys get connected. All right, so let me introduce my beautiful guest. And when I say beautiful, doesn't she look just stunning? This woman hails from St. Louis, Missouri. She is an online business coach. I want you to get that, online business coach. She teaches moms to build income streams around their families and their busy lives. So she teaches people to build because of your family, right? That we can get it done and do it with our families. She is a mom of 3 and soon to be a grandmother. I want to just repeat that. She's a mom of 3, soon to be a grandmother, and also a beautiful wife. And I will ask her a little bit about her husband in a moment. And I love what she says here. A phenomenal life is intentional. So she believes that when we all play at that level 10, that's not by accident. It is totally intentional. So please help me welcome my guest, Camille Dangerfield. Hello, beautiful. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am so good. I am so good. Lives have taken on a whole new meaning with social distancing and social isolation. It's kind of like, well, this is our opportunity to connect. So I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so glad that you invited me. I'm happy to be here.
We haven't even started talking and you're already getting hearts. We're already getting loves. So hey, so people are excited to see you. And we'll be, one of the things I'm gonna ask everybody to do is bless a life, because this is going to be a topic that's really important for where we are today. And we're going to be talking about taking advantage of the moment that's presented in front of you. So please bless a life by sharing to your pages, sharing to a group, sharing to a friend who you think needs this conversation, because each of us have been through getting past getting ready to get ready and taking that leap of faith. So Camille, before we get started, why don't you just take a moment and tell everyone a little bit about what you do, how you got started, all that wonderful stuff.
Sure. So I'm an online business coach, as you said, and the way that I got started was kind of a very curvy path. It was not a straight line at all. I had done various entrepreneurial things over the years, probably about 15 years or so, jumping around from thing to thing to thing. And so what ended up happening was I had all of this knowledge, but I hadn't done the mindset work to actually stick to anything long enough to see, the success that I wanted to have, until after got pregnant with my third daughter. And I told my husband, okay, I'm coming home. I need to figure this out. And that's when everything changed for me, after I got my mind right, worked on some heart stuff. And then I realized, oh, this is actually, I want to help other women get past this. Like, if someone would have told me 15 years ago to work on the inside stuff along with the outside stuff, it wouldn't have taken me 15 years to figure this out. So that's kind of how it came to be. And yeah, I really, when I turned on the camera for the first time to do live video, I had no idea that this is what I was going to be doing. My first video was actually about wearing my baby in a baby carrier.
but so it starts, right?
Yeah.
And so it starts. So 3 children, and I think this is key, because you teach moms how to build around their lives, their busy lives. So 3 children, husband. How long have you been married?
11 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how old are your children?
My daughters are 25 and 2.
25 and 2. Little gap.
Yeah. So a huge gap, yeah.
And so you really understand, as you're talking about getting started in the midst of also parenting full time, because your children are still at home.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where you just sometimes have to work in the nooks and crannies of life until you figure out how to develop a routine. Because to be completely transparent, it's not like I have it totally together back here. Okay, sometimes I'm just flying on grace, and I'm doing much better in terms of setting the times that I want to work. And even though they might not always, work out exactly the way I had them written out, at least I have something to align myself to.
Absolutely. I get that. So before we get started, and first of all, send us some love if you understand, or you are someone who is actually getting ready to get ready. You've got to take action. You know that the timing is perfect, but maybe I envision it, I don't know about you, but it's like jumping rope. I'm trying to get in, I'm trying to get in, but it's not quite the right time. And I'm waiting for that perfect time. And the first thing I'll say to you, and I don't know if you agree with this, but there's no perfect time.
Never.
Yeah,
there's never a perfect time.
So if you're getting ready to get ready, put yes, I'm getting ready to get ready, or yes in the comment section, so that we know, so that we'll just get a sense of where everyone is. So when you started, you did your first video. Did you go through that phase of getting ready to get ready?
I did. I was getting ready to get ready for a couple of reasons. So I didn't know what I was going to talk about, first of all. All I knew was that I wanted an online business. And so I needed to start putting myself out there. And I knew that video was the best way to do it. So I wasn't sure, though, if I would talk about natural living, natural wellness, natural parenting, or business stuff. And so at first, I was just throwing different things out there to see kind of what stuck. I didn't have a game plan, really. But I just knew that I had to start doing some videos. And so I did, like I told you before, the first one was about, how I wore my baby in a wrap. Because at that time, Chloe was just a few months old. And women in public would always ask me about my wrap. So I'm like, well, I'll just talk about this. And then I tried a few other things. And once I kind of decided I wanted to start doing more motivational videos, I knew that I wanted to have a more like a setup, right? So I bought this course about how to do live videos, and these people told you how to make the background. Mind you, the instructions they gave you were how to make a background almost identical to the one that they had. So I ordered this stuff and I was getting ready to put it on my wall down here, and I was like, why would I want my backdrop to look basically just like theirs? I'm not them.
That's right. That's right.
So then I got the bookshelf, an IKEA bookshelf, and I was like, let me put some stuff on here to make it look cute. Figured out the light. Then I get ready to turn on the camera, and I start looking at my face, and I said, oh my gosh, your chin is so crooked. Like, it's not symmetrical. Mind you, my chin has been the same my whole life, right? And it's going to be the same until I'm out of here. And so this was like a 6-week situation.
So have you been on camera yet? 6 weeks?
No, this was the time between when I was just kind of doing the random videos to see, and the time that I had this set up and was like consistently, this is my look, this is my thing. It was about 5 or 6 weeks of me hemming and hawing, and getting ready, right? Getting my backdrop figured out, and then ordering my light. And then I get it all ready, and then I'm like, now my face is the problem. So then finally I'm like, you know what, Camille? Either you're gonna do this with your, non-symmetrical chin, or you're gonna end up back at that desk at the place that you don't want to go. So what's it gonna be? So I kind of just had to talk myself down, like, let's just do this. And I started.
So let's go back for a moment, because I think so many people get ready and they convince themselves, and we were kind of talking about this online, they convince themselves, I need the perfect backdrop. So you got that. I need the perfect chair. I need the perfect lighting. Now you need the perfect chin. Then you need the perfect lipstick, makeup, so on and so forth. What do you think is the cause of that?
Well, I think it's all rooted in fear, right? It's all fear. It's fear of, what are people going to think? What if I don't say the right thing? What if this doesn't work? And I'm out here doing these videos and I don't get any results and I look foolish, right? I think that's really what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for myself, I remember when I got into network marketing, and that was my first business venture. And I remember my friend, she enrolled me, and she came and we were going to do phone calls, and suddenly, and it was back in the days when we were still using phones, right? Not cell phones, but phones. And we were both standing there looking at the phone, and the phone suddenly seemed massive. And she was like, well, you make the first call. And I was like, no, you make the first call. And she was like, no, you go. And I said to her, you enrolled me. You've got to make the first call. You're supposed to train me. But we were back and forth. And then we said, okay, I'm going to make one, then you make one. So she made one, and then it was my turn. But it was this whole thing about all the stuff that was going on in our head about what people were going to say. What if someone answered the phone? I'm not sure exactly what to say, blah, 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 blah. And it was all absolutely, totally fear-based. So when you decided so you gave yourself a talking to, and I think this is the piece I really want people to understand. Did the fear go away?
It didn't, not initially.
Yeah.
I did it afraid. But at that point, because I was, on a paid maternity leave for a certain period of time. And then it was a leave of absence. And then it was, okay, you have to make a decision on whether you're resigning or you're staying, going back. And so I was getting to a point where I needed to do something. And so my fear of having to go back to that place outweighed the fear of what my chin looked like on the camera at that point, So I think that's really what has to happen, is that what's at stake has to mean more to you than your ego and whatever else you're afraid of, right? The fear of rejection or whatever that might be. Until you get to that point where you want your dream more than you care about the other things that are holding you back, I think you're stuck.
You know what, everyone, that's like love and hearts and all that sort of stuff. But I think someone should write in the comment. It's the fear or the pain of going back to something. I know for myself, it was the pain of where I was in my life was worse than anything I could jump into. And that's what propelled me to take uncertain action, to take that leap of faith, to do whatever. And I did it scared. Now, this is what happened for me. And I know Will Smith has this video where he talks about jumping out of the plane. And he says that the fear is really big and it grows and grows and grows until you actually leap, or until you actually start talking, or until you actually do something. And he says, until that moment, fear is just going to get bigger and bigger. And then as soon as you take the action, it's almost like fear goes like this, and then it goes like this. Is that what happened?
Definitely. I mean, even, I'm not going to say that I was completely comfortable doing the videos. Like right after I did my first one, there would still be times where I might sweat a little bit, or I might have to talk myself into it, or sometimes I just wouldn't do it, right? That's where coaching came in for me. Like that helped me to become more consistent with it and take quitting off the table completely, because I had my coach to transfer some of his confidence onto me, right? But yeah, it's not one of those things where it's going to go away overnight, but it will decrease. For sure. Now, sometimes you might, I know speakers who get nervous every time they have to go on a stage. So sometimes you just learn how to let that fuel you. I had reasoned some things in my head in terms of how I chose to perceive my fearful feelings, and just learned how to do stuff anyway,
And I think that is such a big, an important point, because I think part of what people think of is, I'm going to get ready I'm going to get ready, and then I'm going to get more knowledge, and I'm going to get this right, then I'm going to get that right. And they think that the preparation is going to make the fear go away. And I think we're both here to tell you, you can prepare all you want. Fear's not going anywhere until you get into action.
Until you get into action, yeah, for sure.
And even when you're in action, you may be required, I know I was, to do your first few actions afraid. Like I know the first time I ever spoke in front of a crowd, it was about 30 people, big crowd for me back then. I still to this day do not remember what I said. But I did it. And I remember the only thing I heard was my heart in my head. And it was just pounding. But I did it, and the fear did not go away. And the fear did not go away until probably 10, 11, 12, 13. Like it took some time. But I had to be more committed to what I wanted than to the fear.
Yeah, that's what it is. At a certain point, you get to a place where you're at the point of no return. Like there's literally nothing that I could see myself doing in life besides continuing to pursue this path that I'm on. And so at this point, whatever happens, whatever comes my way, I believe that I'll be equipped to meet it. Now, do I know exactly how I'm going to work out all of the things? No, but I just know that either the right person is going to come, the right course is going to come, the right inspiration is going to come, like one way or another. As long as I stay in alignment with my vision, I don't have to know all of the steps in between. Like we get to declare the what without knowing the how.
And that is such an important point. And I think part of it is, I think this is what happens when you take imperfect action, if you will, and you take action without knowing all the how, is my confidence, your confidence is built in imperfect action. Right? Because it's doing something without all the answers and having that small win. I did it. I didn't fall on my face. All those different things that builds that confidence a little bit more. And then it's taking more imperfect action. And I don't know for you, but then you turn around and you go, wow, I've traveled such a distance and I've grown so much. But it was the imperfect action that allowed the growth to happen. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I think of probably the biggest imperfect action that I've taken since I started this thing is I up and decided I was going to do a virtual summit. I saw a video where a guy talked about how he built his following and his business off of virtual summits. And I'm like, that sounds fun. You know, I had already been doing some interview style videos, and I said, I'm going to do a summit. I chose a topic that I hadn't even been talking about. I didn't have any people that I really knew that could be the guest. I just decided I was going to do this, and I set this date, and I just started figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I did not know how to do it. I started signing up for all of the virtual summits I could find just to see like, how are they doing their emails? How was their registration set up? I started just reverse engineering it based on what I saw and what I liked and didn't like about what I saw other people doing. And I just went for it, you know? And so sometimes you just got to put something on the calendar and put it out there, and it'll force you to figure it out, right? Like once I put the date out there and started reaching out to these people, what am I going to, I mean, I guess I could have canceled it, but for me, that wasn't an option.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to figure this out and we're going to do it. And I
I,
loved it.
I get the exact same thing. I remember when I did my first retreat. And my first retreat was out of country, because I don't know why I would decide to do that, but I decided I wanted to go out of country. So retreat, Mexico, Cancun, got the place, and the first person registered, and now you're kind of like committed. And truly no idea what I'm doing, and found a travel agent that I started working with, and just exact same thing, reversed engineer, wrote the program, and went through it and dealt with all the imperfections. My assistant resigned, I think a month before the retreat. But I landed on my feet. Now we're in year 4. But it was just going and just understanding that life gives us these challenges, which I think are really opportunities to grow us. Mm-hmm. Right? I have this concept called earn while you learn. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think some people think they've got to get perfect before they earn money. And I'm like, go earn while you learn.
No, I think a lot of times, depending on how we think our start has to look, we can start suffering from imposter syndrome or just these, you know, feelings of inadequacy. If we think, well, I'm not ready for this level of launching or this level of execution, but you can always start where you are. When I opened my first coaching group, I hadn't coached a group before, but I was, you know, but I priced it in a way that I felt comfortable, right? Yeah. They all understood this was my first group. They knew that I had this knowledge. They were drawn to me for one reason or another, but they knew that I wasn't a seasoned coach. So it wasn't that I was trying to put on these airs and charge people $1,000 a month for this coaching when I was just starting. So I think that as long as we choose a start that feels authentic to ourselves, and we're not trying to copycat something else that we've seen, I think you can give yourself permission to just go ahead and do it.
That is so well said. And I like what you said in terms of it depends on what you think your start should look like. And oftentimes people start comparing their start to someone else's end or someone else's middle. Right. Mm-hmm. And if you get into that game, then you're starting as failure anyway, because someone else who's been doing it for 10 years and you're doing the comparison. So I love the fact that you're saying start where you're comfortable, but define your own start.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And define your own everything. Isn't that the point of what we're all doing? Like, we say that we want to create our own thing, and then immediately we start trying to copy everything that we've seen. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, look at a model that makes sense, and you don't have to recreate everything, right? But if something doesn't feel right to you, don't do it. Or if for me, my family comes first in this season. Yes, I'm building a business, but the reason I was doing this is to be able to come home and be more present for the girls and for my husband. So right now, I'm very comfortable with lower ticket programs that don't require a bunch of my one-on-one attention. I'm not trying to sell a super high ticket package where I'm going to have these demands on my time and these expectations that a higher ticket client would expect. So while you may see all the gurus saying, well, you got to have your high ticket offer in order to be doing anything out here. Well, I don't want a high ticket offer right now. I want to have some pre-recorded stuff. I want to do maybe one live a week, or, you know, some Zoom office hours. That's what I want it to look like for me right now. Now, once the kids are all in school full days, maybe it's different. But right now, I don't have to have the same coaching setup that, you know, someone else that I saw who looks to be successful, at least from the outside, right? Because that's another thing. A lot of what you see in this social media world, okay, they're talking about $1 million launch. They're not telling you that they spent $995,000 in ads, you know? You just have to put things in perspective and decide what you want for yourself.
And it really, and you know what you're talking about is really knowing your values, right? And one of the things I do with everyone who works with me is the first thing I do is, do you know what your values are? Because for me, time freedom is huge. I know, and I tell people, I know what it's like to work really hard. I know what it's like to have someone else own my time, like literally own my time. I know what it's like to not go on a vacation and not have the time to go on vacation. I know what it's like to be physically exhausted, financially upside down. I know all of that. So I had to really examine my values, what was going on there for me to allow that to happen, and what did I truly value. And my business model is built on my values, right? So I do group coaching because I like my time. And I understand this whole concept called leverage. Everybody knows it's Suzanne's favorite word, leverage, 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 right? I love quality time, and I like boutique. So I like to deep dive with my clients. I like them to walk with me for a period of time, but that's because of who I know myself to be, right? And so you're really talking about understanding, one, your season, because you're in a mom season right now, kids are still home. So you're building your life to fit that season, your business to fit that season. And when your season changes, so can your business, and it can evolve. And that's so key. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is amazing. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Cindy's repeating, the pain of where you are is greater than your fear. Fear lessens when you get in action. I think that one is like a star.
Yeah, so I actually just wrote a post about this a couple of days ago, because there was this huge spider in our basement. And mind you, my husband had been home for like a week and a half because his job is shut down right now. But he had to go in the day that we had the spider. He had to go into the plant for a couple of hours to do some work. And so I see this huge spider. It's probably the biggest spider I've ever seen inside of a house. He's not here. I'm here with the girls. And so I'm like, okay. Super scared. I take the baby, because the 2-year-old was down here with me. So I take her up to her sister's room and say, there's a situation downstairs. I need to handle it. Just keep her up here. So I'm afraid, right? Like, to the point where I'm having to talk myself into dealing with this spider.
I hear you on this one.
I went and put on some tennis shoes. I had gloves on. I had went and got a spray bottle of vinegar, the vacuum. I'm like, I'm going to spray this thing down till it dies, and then I'm going to vacuum it up. Okay. But I was even so scared that once I got over to where it was, I still like jumped up on the couch, like petrified. It's probably ridiculous, right? But even as afraid as I was, the fear of what the spider could do to my kids if I didn't kill it was bigger than my fear of the spider. So I'm like, whether I'm, over here sweating, if I'm looking ridiculous, but the bottom line was, not killing the spider was not an option.
Right.
Right. And so we have to get to that place where giving up on our dream is just not an option.
And I think the part that I love when you said, I looked funny, I looked ridiculous, I looked imperfect, if you will. And I know for me, one of the things I say all the time is leadership and entrepreneurship is messy. Let's just be real. It is messy. And you're going to have moments where you're not going to look so good. You're not going to feel so good. And you may think you're looking bad and you're looking amazing. Like it's all of that sort of stuff. And it is really being willing to risk it all. Yeah. Right? And when I say risk it all, it's not throw your finances and all that stuff, but I think it's getting out of the way of the stuff, you know, I believe that there's a part of our ego that's extremely healthy, and that's what drives us to do stuff. And then there's a part of our ego that's really not so healthy, and that's the part of us that needs to look good, needs to be right, needs to get revenge, all those different things. And I think you've got to get into that healthy place in your ego and give up all those needs to control, to look good, to be right, and all those things, and just leap.
Yeah, and that's why, as I was mentioning when we first started, like the mindset stuff, you cannot miss that part. Because if you're just trying to do everything without having the mindset shift first, you don't even get the fact that, of course, you're going to fail temporarily. Like it's impossible to create anything phenomenal without failing in some way as you get there. Right? That's part of the process. But I think that when you don't understand what it really takes to achieve greatness, and you feel like, because I guess in school, you know, if you get a bad grade, it's an issue, you know, if you fail a class. And so we get this idea that like failing is bad, and you know, if I don't get this right on the first couple of tries, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. No, it's actually part of the process. Like just do something to get a result, and then you can go back and adjust. You can always acquire more skills. You can always, you know, go get a coach or figure out whatever, where there was the misstep. But you have to do something, or else you never get a result, period.
And this is the thing that in terms of what you're saying is, I don't know what I don't know till I take action.
Exactly.
Right? And failing or getting something, doing something well, either one's going to give me, I call it the data. It's going to give me the data to say you're on course or off course. You need to do something different, or you're right on track. But until we take action, there is actually no data to tell you whether you have to go take a course or what course. And you see so many people, course after course, coach after coach, thing after thing, program after program. And it's like, have you done anything yet? No. So how do you know if this information is actually useful? How do you know that you're getting information that's moving you in the right direction? One, but I think what you're also talking about is how our conversations with ourselves get in our way. And you know, we're going and getting education, and we're getting stuff. But the thing that's in your way is not more knowledge or lack of knowledge. It's you and what's going on between your two ears. And so it is just start. So Camille, if you were to give people like one or two tips that you use for yourself to just take that leap of faith and start, what would they be?
Well, I would definitely say find a tribe. You need either a coach or a community, like flat out. If you're trying to do it by yourself all the time, it's not going to work. You need to either get around some people who've already been there and done that, or some people who are pursuing, because that'll help you put things in perspective. When you're doing things in a silo, it's too easy to fall off the wagon, so to speak, right? It's too easy to talk yourself out of things. And because when you get into that fearful place, the things that you're thinking that seem so rational to you completely off base sometimes. And it's like, what are you talking about? But you don't even have, in that moment, you don't have the ability to step outside of yourself and see. Girl, just go, right? So sometimes you just need, and you might have to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the people that are in your existing circle are not going to be able to hold you accountable. They're not going to be able to root for you because they might not even get it, right? So you may have to seek out that community, that coach, that something, whatever it's going to take, you know, to keep you from just talking yourself down from what you want to do.
I love that tip. And you know, one of the things that I realize, and I say this, you know, to most people who are starting, is to understand that your existing circle represents who you were.
Yeah.
And they often can't help you, not because they don't want you to win, but they represent where you are or where you've been, not where you're going. So you now have to find that circle of people who represent where you're going. And we often don't want to let go. And that's one of the reasons people are often getting ready to get ready, because this group is comfortable and they're not going where you're going. So you have to actually find a group of people that are going to pull you in the direction, right? Like I was just on the phone with Mike, with my mentoring coach, Lethea, and we were just bantering, and you could see us literally just pulling each other forward, right? And we mentor each other, but in those conversations, we're just moving each other forward because we're both going. And in many ways, she's way ahead of me, and in certain ways, I'm way ahead of her. So it's kind of like this, you know, I'm moving her, then she turns around and she's moving me, but it's all forward movement because it's growth. So what would be another tip? So surround yourself, get the people who are going where you're going, a coach.
And simplify everything.
Ooh.
Simplify everything. You know, ask yourself out. And when I need to know something, I ask the question out loud. And I expect an answer at some point, right? So, and I will say, you know, Holy Spirit, what is the answer to this? What, you know, and I'll ask myself the question too, what would this look like if it were easy?
Ooh, I like that, right? Oh, someone's got to put that in the comment section. What would this look like if it were easy?
And how can I start now? Because that's the thing, right? You have this idea of what you desire to be, where you desire to go. But the part we miss is you have to start now being that. So if you desire to be a speaker, start speaking now. Even if it's to some stick figures on a paper on your wall, even if it's just on a Facebook Live video, like just start doing it, right? I had overthought this program that I wanted to do. And I woke up one morning and I heard clearly this voice say, just help the women. Like I was sitting here like trying to think the steps and the process and how am I gonna like drip this information out of this? All I did was opened up a Facebook group and started answering questions.
So I'm gonna let people in on a tip. And this is literally how I do most of my programs. So people are in my mastermind. My mastermind is built on 7 principles and 4 areas of mastery. I write every mastermind the day before I teach it. Right? And there's a challenge in that is I'm current. I'm addressing what was talked about. I'm moving people in the direction. I know my framework, but nothing is written. So because I see people get caught in the getting ready to get ready. And I literally, I sell it, then I write it. And kind of have an idea, I know where I'm going, but I sell it, then I write it. And I write it for the people who came, right? And even when I do my retreat, I sell it, then I go write it, and I write it for the people that came. And what it does is I don't have to wait. Like I have an idea, let's go implement it. I'll write it later. And when I first heard that concept, I think it was Laura Langmeyer, she said, just write it later. I was like, you want me to go sell something that I haven't written? Yeah. And because she's like all about action. And I was like, okay. But then when I started doing it, it made so much sense.
And you're probably creating such a better, more impactful experience than you would if you just put together what you thought people needed versus finding out as you take the journey, right? What they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm fresh, they're fresh, the content's fresh, and I'm not waiting. And I think the other thing is okay, there's no going back. I sold the program. Right. So I got to come up with content. And but it is just being willing to take the leap of faith. And I think what you're also talking about as I'm listening to you talk is a certain level of faith and trust. Can you comment a little bit more about that?
I think that goes back again to just the mindset and the spiritual work that I had to do that I had been missing all that time before. Because I don't know that I would have been able to just expect. I expect answers. I expect things to work out for me. I expect that, all of the little details that I don't know, because I believe that I'm in my purpose and that I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. And so I'm just confident that where I lack, Spirit fills in. How to get to that point, it was really my morning routine and just deciding that I'm going to work on this, like my affirmations, like all of the things that we hear all the time, and maybe they sound cliche, but when you actually do them over and over and over and over again, you change, you transform. I mean, I repeated Napoleon Hill's self-confidence formula every morning, right? And at the beginning, you don't feel any different. And then after a while, it becomes to be true, right? I spent time studying my Bible and listening to spiritual teachings and just understanding the true creative power that we have, the power in my word, things that maybe I had heard before, but didn't really live out, didn't really understand on a deeper level. And so now when I say something, I do expect, now I understand that we have to nurture our seeds. You can't just put a bunch of words out there and expect a harvest, okay, if you never nurture your seeds, if you never water the seeds, if you never, right? So there's more to it than just lip service. But I do believe that when I speak something and believe it and align myself with it, that it's going to happen. Now, I can't tell you exactly when. I can't tell you all of the hows, right? But I believe that now. And it's a process.
Well, and I truly believe that faith is expectation, right? It's acting with expectation of receiving. And I was reading earlier this week, and one of the things that the author said is, if you ask for something but prepare for failure, you're going to get failure. Mm-hmm. But if you ask for something and you act and you prepare with expectation, you will get what you expect. And that is such a simple line, but that's exactly what you're talking about, is to ask, and expectation is the watering of the seeds.
I think that people don't realize all of the many ways that we ask, right? We think that asking is just when we ask for something with our mouth. But have you ever heard a mom say to their kid, like, you're asking for it, right? When they're about to get some punishment, you're asking for it. That kid never said, Mommy, will you punish me? But their actions asked, right? So sometimes our actions do the asking, our mouths can do the asking, the things that we choose to focus on can do the asking. You ask in a lot of ways, right?
Well said, so well said. And I think it's for us to realize that we ask here first, right? And then we ask sometimes here, and then we ask in our behavior, or we ask in our behavior, then we ask here. But at first, because you're talking mindset, and the first ask is a conversation that's happening. And this conversation, this ask that might be private and to yourself, is the conversation, is the ask that's going to manifest in action, it's going to manifest in words, it's going to manifest in deeds. But we ask in so many ways. So you're absolutely right. Before we jumped on, we were talking about timing, and we talked about, in many ways, this is a perfect time to just start.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, anyone who is marketing anything online, really even people who were marketing primarily offline before, right? We know that no one's moving freely right now. We're all, supposed to be quarantining. People are, looking at their social media more. Like, now is the time to just put yourself out there without worrying about getting ready to get ready, because we don't know how long we'll have this level of attention, right? Where people are kind of looking for, it's like they're starving for something to do. And it just baffles me, because I'm like, okay, you guys need to be pursuing something, first of all. I don't know how people have this much time on their hands to do all this silly stuff. I'm like, what are you working on? Everyone around here, my little one, she's learned the piano since we've been home. My husband has started studying his coding stuff. Like, we all have little things that we're working on. Not to say that we're not getting distracted with some of the things, but for those who are just consuming 24/7 during this quarantine, that they need you. They need what you have to offer, right?
Absolutely.
But whatever it is that you do, there are people that need it. If you're, in the education space, there are parents who are involuntary homeschool teachers at this point that need what you have. If you're in the health and wellness space, people need to understand how not to come out of this quarantine 50 pounds heavier. If whatever you do, there's a need for it. So get out there.
And last week we talked about 5 words that Taria and I were talking about 5 words that you could use to just figure out what to do. And I challenged, because I had challenged her to pick up the phone and go, how can I serve you? Mm-hmm. And I said, guarantee, if you call enough people and you say, how can I serve you? Given who I am, how can I serve you? A business will show up. An idea will show up, something will show up. So even if your action is, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call everybody I know and go, how can I serve you? You'll figure out something. But it is to just start, because just like you, my first course was I called a group of women and I said, I'm going to do this course. I've never done it before. And I thought about it. I jumped in and I did it. And I was like, this is how I can serve you. And they showed up and they loved it. I got feedback. And this is a mastermind today, right? That first leap of faith, I think, was about 8 years ago. It's the mastermind today. And so, but you gotta just start. And and what happened was I asked someone, what she needed. And she said, I really needed someone to coach me through this. And I was like, I can do that. And then I called another person and said, such and such said you needed this. And they're like, I would too. I can do that. I called someone else. And now I had a group. And I was like, okay, let me figure out a price. I don't know. And I put together a price. I got a conference call. And there we were. We were rocking and rolling. First program. It was a conversation with someone. Just start.
Yeah. Just start. Right.
Just like you jumping online and saying, I'm just going to do these videos. I'm just going to do these videos. I'm just going to do these videos.
And what's interesting is once you start to unlock things that you can't even possibly know until you start. So just like you couldn't have told me a couple of years ago that I would be doing this type of coaching and speaking at events and all this type of thing. I never really came up with this idea. But the things that I started doing started to unlock, oh, well, I like this. And then people would ask me to do that. Oh, I'm interested in this. Now, 2 years, it's been, almost 2 years after I started doing my first video, after I had to talk myself into overcoming my chin, right? Now, I just opened a program where I'm helping people get comfortable doing live videos and get their setup together. So like the thing that I was all stuck on, now I'm actually profiting from helping other people get through that. So
true.
You can't really go wrong if you just go.
And you can't. And I think the beauty of it is, I know from myself, it was the exact same thing. And I tell people this, that purpose is a process, right? So many people are going, I'm looking for my purpose. And I'm trying to figure out what my purpose is. Mm-hmm. And I go, if you don't get in action and do stuff and try things, your purpose will not show up in your true, what you're called to do, because it shows up in, oh, I'm really good at this, and this opened a door, and this I never knew. Like if people told me that I would be a speaker and I would be speaking to thousands of people, the Suzanne I knew when started this journey, I'd be like, that's never happened, because I was the kid who never put her hand up in class. I was a kid who avoided every public presentation. If my boss told me I had to go do something, I'd be like, no, not doing that. That's your job. It was never happening. I had to start, go on a journey, and then find something I wanted so bad that I said, oh, you mean I have to speak? All right, I'm gonna get over myself. And that was the beginning. And this is the thing I really want people, because you what you said is so cool. My brilliance was there. I didn't know it until I took action, and someone kept pointing it out to me going, do you notice this? Do you notice it? I was like, no. Do you notice it? No, I don't want to notice it. Do you notice it? But I had to be in action for it to be revealed, just like you had to be in action to figure out what the program, what the product is, how were you meant to serve.
Mhm. And I
Uh,
think too that like sometimes, especially for those of you listening who have lots of different ideas, sometimes we're concerned about choosing the wrong thing. But I don't think that's actually possible. I think that any step you choose will eventually reroute you back to where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
like for me, I had taken, so to rewind back, maybe actually a year and a half ago, I knew that I wanted to help moms who wanted to start a business. But because I hadn't reached the level that I wanted yet with mine, I started thinking, well, who's going to listen to me? How can I help anybody? And so I kind of talked myself out of it. And so I started just kind of focusing on motivation, intentional living. That's where the whole intentional woman brand came from, because I was really like punking out. Um,
Truth be told, right? We've all been there. Absolutely.
the first summit that I did, because my idea was I'm going to do this virtual summit series on various topics around living an intentional life. So the first summit that I did was called the Happy V Summit. And because I was like, I want to talk about stuff that people aren't talking about, but that women are suffering with. And so we talked about fibroids and painful intercourse and all of these different things on the first day. And the second day was all about improving intimacy and healing from trauma and things like that. And so I did this Happy V Summit. And that's when I realized, well, I like this whole summit thing, right? Like I love these interviews. I like this whole process. And so I start building this list of women who are interested in, this reproductive health stuff and sex, right? So the next topic was the Intentional Income Summit, because I'm like, well, let's talk about how to actually, start generating some income on our own terms. And so I do that summit, and it was like, okay, Camille, so since you thought that you were going to sidestep this purpose, now you're doing this summit and you're realizing this is actually my lane. So
Mm.
like when I did that summit, my level of excitement and enthusiasm was through the roof. I realized that I was actually able to help women, even though in my mind, because I wasn't making six figures yet online, which is like that number, right? Everyone's like, you're not making six figures. And so I realized, yeah, that doesn't matter. Because after that summit, I had women seeking me out, asking me to coach them. I had people seeking me out, asking me to help them put on virtual summits, right? I did not think before I took action that I was ready to do
We
that.
and I think we never do, and that's why the action is so amazing. Camille, first of all, everyone, I've been speaking to Camille Dangerfield. Fantastic information. I'm sure there's people listening going, I need to connect with this woman. I need to connect with this mom. This is my person I'm supposed to be talking to. How do people get a hold of you, hon?
Facebook is my home. That's the only social media platform. And that's okay. So real quick, going back to keeping it simple. It is a lie to believe that you have to be on every social media platform doing all of the things and all of this stuff. I was trying to do like my Instagram and then start a YouTube channel and the Facebook because people said that I should, right? So much peace when I decided, you know what, there's enough women on Facebook. I can just plant my flag here and figure this out. So
Absolutely.
don't try to be in all of the places until you maybe you're able to hire an assistant or whatever, right? That's a lie. You don't have to be everywhere. So I'm on Facebook. So you can find me at Camille Dangerfield, and yeah, shoot me a message if you'd like to, to connect. And I'd love to learn more about how I might be able to serve you. That's a great question. How can I serve you?
Yeah, no, and I mean, because that is what business is about, right? How can I serve you? And you'll be amazed what people will say. Camille, thank you so very much. I want to do this again. I love the topic of Just Start, but I think I want to dive into the conversation about moms because I think for a lot of moms, they're home and they want to start. And I'd love to talk about, kind of what they can do to start while juggling having their children at home. I think that would be such a valuable conversation. So please come back. Yeah.
I would love to. I would love to.
Thank you so much, everyone. This is Suzanne Hart. This is Mindset Mastery, and I've been talking to the beautiful Camille Dangerfield. And we'll put her contact information so that you can connect with her. And if you do want to connect with her, put mastermind in the comment section. We'll make sure that you get connected. Take care, blessings, stay safe and healthy, and we'll talk to you next week. All right, everyone.